Hello everybody, it's Julia here from the Highly Sensitive Tarot, and I'm back today with another video, and this one is looking at a new deck that I've recently been given. This was bought for me by my lovely son for Mother's Day, and this is the first time really that I've sat down and looked at the deck properly. And I have to say, in many ways this is a gorgeous deck. The colours are beautiful. The cards feel lovely to hold and to shuffle. There's lots of gorgeous colours on this deck. But if I'm honest, I'm a little bit disappointed at some of the artwork. I think I would have liked to have seen more recognisable pre-Raphaelite art. I'm a big fan of pre-Raphaelite art, and I've got Flaming June hung in my bedroom, and I've had various bits and pieces over the years, and there's not a great deal in this deck that is recognisable to me, at least. But it's still a beautiful deck nonetheless. This is the lovely little box. I like these cute little tuck boxes like this. They store nicely. They don't take up a huge amount of room. This is Lo Scarabo. What's the copyright of this deck? Have I got that here? Have a look. Copyright 2019. So this is by Valerie Menozzi, and the artwork by Giuliano Costa. I think I have pronounced that correctly, Giuliano Costa. So yeah, this is the back of the cards, which is a bit sort of William Morris-y, isn't it, in its artwork. That's really gorgeous. So what I thought I would do, because there's actually quite a lot of information in the little book that comes with this about the pre-Raphaelite, so I thought instead of just showing you a very quick flip through of these cards, I thought I'd read you a bit about the pre-Raphaelite movement, the art, what inspired these cards, and then I've pulled out 4 or 5 cards that to me are instantly and easily recognisable as pre-Raphaelites, and I'll show you those rather than, as I said, just sort of going through the deck. So if you don't know a great deal about pre-Raphaelite art, they were kind of a brotherhood, I think, really. There were 3 students at the Royal Academy in Victorian London in 1849, and they exhibited their works for the first time, signing them with the initials PRB, which we can see here on the 9 of Cups card, the PRB bit there. And those none of the public at the time knew what this stood for, but everyone quickly realised that the style and content of these paintings was highly innovative. And after a while, people discovered that the acronym actually stood for the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. And the 3 young founders were Dante Gabriele Rossetti, William Holman Hunt, and John Everett Millais. And they were around from about 1828 to about 1900. It looks like the first, who was the son of an Italian member of the Cabinari, the brother of an occultist. He was an avid reader of Dante, Blake, Shakespeare and Poe. They composed epic poems. They were all well educated, well travelled, from good families. I think they split up after a few years. But then enjoyed a comeback really through the works of artists such as Edward Burne-Jones and William Morris, who were painters but also interested in home furnishings and fashion, and sort of gave rise to that style that was later subsequently known as Art Nouveau. And then John William Waterhouse, sort of came on the scene, I think, some decades later, and he did achieve quite notable success amongst his contemporaries. And I think it was Waterhouse, actually, that painted Flaming June. Let's have a look on my phone and see if I can find that. That's one of my favourite paintings ever, I think. I think you may have heard me talk about Gustav Klimt on my channel, but I absolutely love Flaming June as well. No, it's by Frederick Leighton. Frederick Leighton, painted in 1895. This is Flaming June. Isn't that beautiful? And see, when I thought about the pre-Raphaelite deck, I thought I was going to see more paintings like this. But unfortunately, I think this deck is inspired by pre-Raphaelite artwork, but it's not, doesn't necessarily have a huge amount of very popular pre-Raphaelite art, I suppose, which is a shame, isn't it? So this little book then talks about the Muses, because it says we cannot fully understand the concept of the pre-Raphaelite brotherhood without rightly including its sisterhood. In fact, there were so many women who revolved around the young artists and built up all-consuming relationships with them. They were the muses and icons of timeless beauty that inspired the magnificent works of these brothers. The most famous was undoubtedly Elizabeth Siddal, known as Lizzie, and I think that this is her here. Delicate and ethereal, with beautiful long auburn hair and dreamy eyes, she embodied the ideal of angelic beauty and was reminiscent of the women in the Dolce Stil Novo. She was Ophelia, Beatrice, and we can see her immortalised in various cards. Who else does it talk about? There was also Jane Burden, who had the long black hair and blue eyes, who became Persephone, Isolde, Astarte, the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands in this deck. Let's have a look at her, actually. I didn't notice that before. Let's have a look at her. Where's the Queen of Wands? So there we go. So that's her. The Queen of Wands. So that is Jane Burden. She was noticed by Rossetti and entered the pre-Raphaelite entourage and became their model. She married Morris, but had affairs with lots of members of other men, including Rossetti. There's also Fanny Comworth, who had gold-coloured hair, who I'm sure we'll see at some point. She became Lady Lilith, Lucretia Borgia, the Venus Vercontia. Yeah, so the ideals of the pre-Raphaelites. And it says here, what made the pre-Raphaelites appear so original to their contemporaries and so modern and fascinating to people in our time were the ideals that animated their works and their beliefs. They were inspired by their European symbologist colleagues that they criticised. The alienating effect of the industrial society that drove man away from nature. The moralism of the Victorian age that penalised in particular the role of women in society. The rigid academic theories of painting techniques and the pointless dogmatism of themes and arts subsequent to the Raphael movement. And in contrast, they hoped for the reconciliation of man, and in particular the artist with nature, the reawakening of a mystical, ancient and pantheistic spirituality. and the return of a pure free style relevant to reality, like that of the painters before Raphael, known as primitives, and the artists of the Middle Ages. In other words, the pre-Raphaelites had an esoteric view of the world, and that is that they believed the sacred truths lay hidden behind the appearance of things. Their works were teeming with symbols that were cleverly hidden among natural elements, and in fact nature is the true protagonist of their paintings. It is taken to be the embodiment of the divine, and all matter is spiritualized. As we admire the arcana of the deck, we find ourselves looking at an internal spring of vegetation that's luxuriant and sumptuous. Stones, flowers, and stars became esoteric symbols and represent mystical teachers. The human figures, mostly women, blend in with the surroundings and become metaphors themselves of the twofold aspect of Mother Nature, sometimes benevolent and fertile, and at others harsh and deadly, as is evident if we compare the cards of the Empress and Death. So, it says for the pre-Raphaelites, artistic creation was an authentic magical ritual. The painters often went into the fields, woods and riverbanks to create their work, surrounded by nature. This was a kind of idyllic golden age, I think, really, wasn't it, in a sense of the aesthetics. The presence of light prevailed over everything. There's not so many dark colours in their paintings. They're very bright and radiant hues. Lots of yellow golds. It says here, thanks to these artists who could use their brushes like magic wands, natural elements are represented in a meticulously truthful fashion, as they are expressions of the divine that is hidden in everything. So, let's just move these, and I'll show you some more cards. So, I was expecting to see much more of this kind of art, really. This is Circe Invidiosa, I think, isn't it? This is just one of the sort of blank cards that comes with this deck. This is by John William Waterhouse, and I think Circe Invidiosa in Latin means jealous Circe, and this shows her poisoning the water, doesn't it, to kill Scylla, I think, Scillas. Let me just look on my phone, see if I can remember who Scillas is. Let's have a look. I think she was trying to kill this other female because she was jealous and wanted to be with the man. I'm not entirely sure. But I just thought that was interesting, that is actually one of the blank sort of cards, but not one of the actual tarot cards. And that's one of the images that I like very much, really. Let's just see, it has actually come up on my phone now. So she's a goddess of magic or an enchantress from Greek mythology, and Cyrilla was a beautiful nymph who gets turned into a monster, as is the way in Greek mythology. And I think this painting here was the second depiction of Circe, because he'd done one of offering the cup to Ulysses. She has a cup with some potion in it, so she hopes to get him under her spell. So she was basically a sorceress, wasn't she? So what have I got here? I've got here the Three of Wands, and this is a painting that I recognise. In fact, I think a few years ago I had this painting. This is the Tempest, isn't it? Miranda from Shakespeare's tragedy, The Tempest. and this is shown in the Three of Wands, where we've got the ship breaking down on the rocks. So that's a pretty good card, very interesting for the Three of Wands. Then we've got the Six of Wands, which again is another card that I recognise. Let's have a look here. So yeah, this is, I think some of the pre-Raphaelite art is taken from Greek mythology, and some of it is taken from sort of Arthurian legends and myths, isn't it? So this is The Lady of Shalott by Waterhouse, and this is one of those sort of epic poems, isn't it, about knights and Arthurian legends, The Lady of Shalott. Yeah. Is that The Lady of Shalott? Or is that on the Six of Swords? I'm sorry, I might well have got that wrong. I thought that was The Lady of Shalott. But this one actually, I'm sorry, I think I've got mixed up. I think the Six of Swords is The Lady of Shalott. This is definitely taken from Shakespeare, isn't it? This card here. And what a brilliant card for the Six of Swords. This is definitely moving away from difficult times, isn't it? And then the other card, the last card that I've got here really to show you, because as I said, there weren't a great deal of cards in this deck that I actually really recognised as pre-Raphaelite art. And this one is the Death card, and I think this is taken from Ophelia, isn't it? Which it says in the book that the person who posed for this famous painting is the beautiful 19-year-old Elizabeth Siddal, who remained in the water in a bathtub for several hours, and she actually fell ill with bronchitis. Her father sought compensation from the painter to cover her medical expenses. She continued to pose for the pre-Raphaelites, and she later married Dante Gabriel Rossetti. So yeah, they were just a few of the cards that I actually recognised. But as you can see, these are very, very colourful. They're beautiful. I love the greens, the purples, the blues. They are stunning cards. They're kind of Rider-Waite-Smith based. I think you could easily read these cards with your knowledge of Rider-Waite-Smith. But there's not a huge amount here that I recognise from pre-Raphaelite artwork. Perhaps this one also. I'm not entirely sure who these couple are, but I recognise them. But anyway, there you go. I'm sorry I couldn't do a sort of better job with this video of explaining who the people are in the cards and what the paintings are, but as I said, a lot of them I don't really recognise, and the guidebook doesn't tell you who they are. It's a beautiful deck. I'm sure I will use it, but I am kind of disappointed that with the wealth of beautiful pre-Raphaelite art out there, that there is not more that is kind of instantly recognisable. Like her, for instance, I recognise the lady in the red dress, but I remember her from a different painting. So I'm not really... It's a lovely deck, it's a beautiful deck, but I think they could have done so much better a job with it, don't you? I don't know. Please do tell me your thoughts and feelings. If you have this deck, let me know what you think. Yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching. Please do leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and I shall see you again soon. Thank you.